got back from Auschwitz. He's a great humanitarian. If he keeps using ketamine, he's gonna need a veterinarian. That stuff was made for horses in an equine sanitarium. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. He's got women by the dozen. He's a real-life Casanova. He makes rockets before breakfast. His real name's Supernova. He's the savior of the world. His middle name's Jehovah. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. He's a usurer like Shylock. Thinks he's cool like Che Guevara. He thinks the Palestinians should live in the Sahara. He's been to Auschwitz and to Israel. He's never been to Gaza. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. He's tall and pale and handsome, a fascinating specimen. He's sensitive and vulnerable, that's why he uses ketamine. I'm jumping to conclusions, I never even met the man. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. He likes cars and he likes rockets, but he doesn't like petroleum. I'd never drive a Tesla, I'd rather burn in pandemonium. He's a Philo-Semite, even more so than Napoleon. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. He started out in usury in an outfit they call PayPal. Wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. I'd sooner bathe in napalm. If he asked me for a date, my dad would say no way, pal. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. He says that he's a Christian, he's really a transhumanist. He needs to read the Talmud, he must be an illuminist. There's a chip inside his head that qualifies as lunatic. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. Don't wanna be unkind, but he's kinda robotic. He's demonizing Muslims, that's evil or psychotic. He wants to live on Mars, that's just idiotic. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. The ketamine's not working, think he needs something stronger. Whatever Elon's taking isn't working any longer. The man should go to rehab or at least go on vacation. I guess that he could tell the Jews that he's on his space station. He really should remember that BB may be clever, but it's Jesus Christ who'll be his judge. That hell goes on forever. The Jews killed Jesus Christ. It fills my heart with sorrow. Let all the Jews convert today. Don't wait until tomorrow. Elon, it's embarrassing. You're being such a muppet. Elon, it's so obvious. You're just a Jewish puppet. Your rockets go up into space, but please take my advice. No rocket made by human hands reaches paradise. No rocket made by human hands reaches paradise. Genocide, he went rushing off to Auschwitz. There's a Holocaust in Gaza he never seemed to notice, and now a whole year later he blatantly ignores it. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. The Jews are showing all the world how they're just genocidal. Elon never mentions that. Guess BB is his idol. He's in love with Tommy Robinson. He's a Tommy Tar disciple. Daddy says the Jews created Elon Musk. The ketamine's not working. Think he needs something stronger. Whatever Elon's taking isn't working any longer. The man should go to rehab or at least go on vacation. I guess that he could tell the Jews that he's on his space station. He really should remember that BB may be clever, but it's Jesus Christ who'll be his judge. Hellfire is forever. The Jews killed Jesus Christ. It fills my heart with sorrow. Let all the Jews convert today. Don't wait until tomorrow. Elon, it's embarrassing. You're being such a muppet. Elon, it's so obvious. You're just a Jewish puppet. Your rockets go up into space, but please take my advice. No rocket made by human hands reaches paradise. 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 No rocket made can get to paradise. Reaches paradise. Can reach to paradise. No rocket made by human hands reaches paradise. Reaches paradise. All the way to paradise. Can reach to paradise. Can get to paradise. All the way to paradise. Can reach to paradise. All the way to paradise. Can reach to
Good morning. My name is Michael, and I'm broadcasting from my garage here on Monday, the 5th of January, located in St. Michael's Parish in the Pine Tree State's most powerful and divided city, Augusta, the political center of Maine. Every day I begin by imploring the assistance of God's Archangel of War, St. Michael. Please pray with me if you can. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Saint Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and the other evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Wow. The first full business week of the new year, 2026, and the Maine legislature is back in town here in Augusta under the dome in the historic house of our government, where voting, democratic mechanisms, politics related to governance and the creation of statutes and the amendments to the Constitution are most vigorously discussed. So it all gets rolling tomorrow, I think, with Maine Right to Life Day. They're going to be, Maine Right to Life is going to be in the Hall of Flags for the morning of Tuesday, tomorrow. And then and there's going to be a number of committee hearings that are held by the standing committees that were formed last year during the first regular session of the 2-year legislature. And so the standing committees get going for this emergency session. It's technically called the emergency session. And so they'll get started tomorrow. I don't know what's going on over there today. Maybe nothing. And then Wednesday in the morning at 10 o'clock, the House and the Senate will, all of them, meet together in their chambers to start the business that they all do together, the business of voting on bills that come out of committee and then proceed through the legislative process on their way to being killed off or landing on the governor's desk for her signature, her veto, or for them, the proposed change to statute to go into law without her signature. Those are the three options. So I got a bunch of stuff going on here. Let me just check this message. Okay. And I got another message here from somebody. Let me check it out. I may work something. I can my instruction will be there in a few minutes. Okay. Good news. Good news. I think we'll see. We'll know in a few minutes. But back to, so I was scheduled for a few days now to have the Truth Slinger on this morning to have a conversation with Tim Bodnar. But he contacted me about 20, 30 minutes ago saying that his generator is giving him problems. He lives in the woods in St. Albans, and he does all of his internet work using electricity generated by fuel that's run through an internal combustion engine. Kind of an odd, rare thing, right? To produce content online on as frequent a basis as he does, with the only source of electricity being a generator. So, but he claims he got it working. So he may choose to, or he may be able to be with us. And if he comes in, then we will be able to proceed with the show that I was looking very much forward to producing over the weekend. So that'll be great. So the legislature. Okay, so this is the second session of the 2-year legislature, and it's scheduled to end in April. The first regular session usually ends in June. I think they managed to pull that off last year, and they usually manage to pull things off pretty close to their the deadline that they set for finishing up. Oftentimes they'll go over a little bit, maybe days or sometimes weeks. So anyway, if you want to learn about your government, I would encourage you to take time to come down to Augusta and visit the State House. It's free. The only thing you have to do is surrender your sovereignty and your privacy on your way in, because they have the old TSA metal detector BS on the way in instead of greeters there with a smile on their face, thanking you for taking the time to come to the State House. That's what they should have, but instead they have police officers to frisk you when you appear at the State House. So it looks like Tim has joined us. Let's bring him in. Hey, everything working? Audio, you can hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. I am so honored. Live stream appearance in the new year, I'm guessing. But
yeah, it's first time.
That's great. And your generator is working again, or so maybe?
Yeah, for the moment. Yeah, it's cold this morning. It was -2, and so it was kind of puttering. And I get this internal filter in the gas tank, and I think that every once in a while our gas is so crappy from the Irving or whatever, the A. Robinson, that it gets fouled up every once in a while, and so you got to clean it out. It's real fine stuff. So
yeah,
it worked its way out. It's running. So.
Do you run? You must run it a lot, I guess.
All day long.
Yeah, because it's your sole source of power, right?
Yeah, and well, yeah. I mean, I run off the Jeep as a backup, and we tried solar for a while, and it's a rich man's game. I mean, you need good batteries and all that kind of stuff, and you can't do it the way you can't go down to the Harbor Freight and get some stuff like I did, and it lasts for a while, but it's. The weather here in Maine, whoever sold us the green deal up here was really.
I get such a kick out of that.
I mean,
they really destroyed our beautiful mountain ridge lines with
Yeah.
those stupid windmills, and then you drive by all these fields of solar panels, and what do you see this time of year? They're all covered in snow.
Oh yeah, they're gross, man. I hate them.
Crazy. And then the numbers, like what, less than 1% of the electricity we use is
Yeah, oh
generated
yeah, so small. It's like Donald Trump had it nailed, right? It's a green new scam. It's
Yeah,
just
right.
it's just all another thing to redistribution of wealth, right? Right up into the big
Yeah.
people's pockets.
So I was so glad to see you and Jen kind of disappear. I mean, I wasn't glad to see Truthslinger X 32,000 followers disappear, but I was thankful to see over the holidays, Christmas and New Year's, that the two of you were able to unplug quite a bit. So that must have felt good.
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't the prescription that I would have written for myself. Okay, but God knows what he's doing. And it was good. The break was good. It was good. Get some things collected up in the head there, straightened out.
So you're back. You're coming back with your morning show, I believe. This morning.
Yeah, God excited. We're going out on 4 platforms this morning. Awesome. I decided, we don't want to be canceled again. I don't like that. It's not very much fun.
Well, I'll kind of let you lead the way as far as what you'd like to talk about. I know that you're going through a fairly major pivot as a result of losing your opportunity to communicate with your followers on X, because I know you've dedicated yourself to delivering content, creating content on that platform. So I can't imagine what a head spinner it is to just all of a sudden, without notice, lose, have that cut out from under you, just goes away overnight. And so I know you've been, over the last 2 or 3 weeks since that happened, you've been thinking about, praying about, maybe even working on a pivot to something a little different. So I'll let you lead the way in the discussion. Would love for my listeners and anyone who watches it on archive to hear whatever you have to say.
Well, I want to be very careful because we've entered into a different season here at the Truthslinger Project, and I want to be careful because this next phase that I'm entering into really is going to involve some litigation, and so I'm very sensitive, obviously, about talking about. My attorney says that, who is me, says that I have to be careful about what I talk about now because with pending litigation, there are things that you don't want to talk about in order to protect what it is that you're trying to do and accomplish and achieve. And most recently, I think the beginning of that was the restraining order that I've taken out. And if you want information about that, it's on hippiechick_24 was where I kind of hang out, lurk these days. The Truthslinger Project exists over there in Jennifer's Cradle, and I'm sort of lurking and pop in every once in a while there. And because my focus is sort of starting to shift into strategy and trying to work in some theaters that are more effective at fighting the fight, and that would be the court system, because the court system delivers and offers some power that is unavailable when you're just just being a user on X and complaining about things and so on and so forth. And so we talked about it all the time. You talked about it all the time, is that the internet moves at the speed of light. It moves really fast these days. And the court system's not so much. Everything slows down to something that's more easily digestible. And if I could say anything about the first year that we had in 2025 was that, well, it was marked by a lot of resistance, a lot of chaos, spending the first year trying to find out, like, literally just who to be aiming the guns at, proverbially speaking, because I didn't know jack. I mean, I got involved in this started heavily into Maine politics about a year ago, which is when we kind of met and have developed a relationship since then.
Right, and you had no prior experience directly or professionally with politics, as I understand it, of
No,
any kind, other than business politics, right?
right,
You ran a business, and maybe
right,
family politics. Politics is everywhere. It's
right.
everything.
Right.
But
And yeah,
but
I mean, there was politics in the workplace and stuff. I mean, I held a fairly prominent positions in the combustion industry, and
yeah,
it's really loud. I flew all over the world and, all that kind of stuff. And so I was pretty much kind of a power broker in that world,
mhm,
because of knowledge. And,
right,
but I didn't have that, right? See, coming into this, all I had was just the raw talent of all the experiences that I've had through life that God put me through in order to uniquely qualify me, the university of life to get
mhm,
to this point where I need to be today. And it just so happened that he gave me a very unique and interesting skill set.
mhm,
And that skill set is involves and includes um working in areas of the law, right? I've had to manage a lot of my own legal work over the years because I came to find out that most lawyers weren't really worth their weight in salt, and they don't really have your best interest at heart. They're just interested in getting through whatever it is they're getting through and making a show to. They don't really care whether you win or lose or any of that stuff.
right,
And so, I mean, I fired my attorneys a couple of times over the years. And ended up representing myself in most of my past stuff.
mhm.
And so I've just been,
So
I guess,
if I
trained to do stuff like that. So
if I could interrupt just for a minute to better understand uh, your mindset, yours and Jen's, coming into 2025, which is when I met you about a little over a year ago. We met at about exactly this time, I think, on your live stream when you brought up during the live stream. You kind of pivoted. You approached it in a respectful way, because we hadn't met, we didn't know one another. We're live streaming, and you put up a picture of my son
mhm,
being lied about with respect to January 6th, something I had never seen, and it concerned the person who you just mentioned as having taken out restraining orders on them. So that's public information that's happened since your X account was stolen or taken away or suspended as a result of an action taken by the main wire and his boss, Matthew Gagnon. So Steve Robinson and Matthew Gagnon admit to, and they're very proud of in writing, taking down your account, which has only a couple thousand followers less than the main wire has on
right,
X.
right,
So they basically took out the competition. And
right,
while I appreciate Steve's highbrow, serious journalism, I laugh more at what you produce. You're more entertaining, and you're both on the same side. So the whole thing is like, what is going on here? What is going on here? So I publicly asked Robinson to back off and tell X that whatever. And, of course, he's not going to listen to me. But anyway, so all that. Okay, my question. My question is, so you jumped into politics like around the beginning of a year ago in the fall, maybe, but the Truth Slinger project preceded that. Is that correct? In
yeah.
2024.
This has been about 3 years in the making. So
Okay, so
for 2 years, 2 years, I was out there banging on politics in general. But
mhm,
that's when I met Richard, and
mhm,
Richard, Unquirer, he, told me that he's doing well focusing on Maine politics because it's a small pond. Made
mhm,
sense to me. I said, "Hey, rather than try and be a drop in this giant bucket, right, I can be in this small bucket and be a bigger drop in Maine
mhm,
politics," which is
mhm,
why I made the shift, right? It made
yeah.
sense to me. Some people
So
said, "Well, hey, you're limiting yourself," but
so then for about a couple years, your strategy was to build a following on X. Is that accurate? And
It was to try and make some sort of noise on some social media platform. And I started with Truth Social, and did not have a good experience with that at all. And
interesting.
YouTube, I was also on YouTube. Yeah, I got kicked off of Truth Social with no explanation, like literally standing outside the gate, at the Wizard of Oz, with a little square. There's not even a square door in the middle to go. Who goes there? Nothing. No explanation. I just got tossed, and I was like,
wow.
I'm not even going to try and rebuild that because it's some.
That is fascinating that happened to you. That's very, very interesting.
Oh yeah, it was actually more hostile than X.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. I mean, most of us MAGA people, right? I'm thinking, because I've voted for Trump every time. I'm thinking surely not from the right. When I say that, I mean censorship. Cancellations. Surely not from the right, but it's been going on a long time now, right?
Yeah, it does. It happens. And so we went through a couple of YouTube channels. I mean, I think, one day, and then finally I kind of gave up on YouTube because I made the mistake of just mentioning Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and said vaccine. And that was it. I think I played an Alex Jones video, and, I was off for 7 days. And so I'm like, this was the second channel. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to invest a lot of time in that. If all of a sudden you can get your legs kicked out from underneath you. And so I decided to settle eventually on X because you can just about get away with anything you want on X, right?
Right.
You could play music, you could play that they don't copyright you, you can play a movie and comment about it, have a movie night. It's pretty relaxed and chill. At least I thought so.
Right.
But then I started finding out that there's only so much you can go outside the Overton window before they start shutting you down. Right. We talked about that before. And my voice tends to exist generally around the margins of the Overton window, right? I'm trying to drag the window back to where the hell it's supposed to be, right? So I'm way outside.
You're like me. You like to break the glass of the Overton window, poke your head through.
Yeah, right.
Right. And look at reality over there or over there.
Right. And
then talk about it. And then
so eventually, I thought, I'm pretty bulletproof on X, and I just didn't do the prudent things, right, to do the backups and so on and so forth. And you mentioned, and it is difficult to maintain multiple platforms. It's not easy. And so I just didn't have the strategy, clear in my mind. So yeah, we were vulnerable. We were essentially, we were parked. I mean, I have some other social media accounts, fortunately, that are not being used. And so as of last night, those are all hooked up. So we'll be going this morning. We'll be going live to Facebook, Rumble, X, and YouTube. So I'm pretty excited about that because we haven't been on those platforms in about, a year. And I have no idea what they're going to do.
Good for you for having the skill set to spin that up without doing what I do, which is pay $45 a month for.
I paid $19 a month shamelessly last night just for the privileges of streaming to 5 places at the same time and getting rid of the watermark.
But you understand the whole streaming protocol thing at the level where you could, you produce using open source. I don't know which platform you use, but yeah. So good for you. I mean, I've tried to teach myself those skills using those software platforms.
It's intimidating. I learned just about enough to get it done. And then that's about as far as my learning goes. It's like, okay, good. Everything works. Don't touch it, Don't
touch it. Yeah. Well, good for you. I mean, it's daring, it's risky. But it's kind of like producing as much content as you and Jen do on a generator, powered by a generator. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen next.
Right. Well, here's basically, okay. Basically you're asking about kind of what's next and what the new directions are. And again, we came in, and the way I look at it is I was sort of bombastic in the first year would be an understatement. And that's part of
when you say that, you mean last year, right? Not the first year.
No, not the first year, but the first year I got into Maine politics, which would be last year, right? 2025.
It's amazing to me that you've been doing Maine politics for just a year, and facing the headwind emotionally and personally that you and Jen were forced to face because of Michael G. Hine, and when you step aside from that and look at what you accomplished, I mean, by the end of the year, you were viral at least twice. You were viral in Lincoln and online, and you were viral in Augusta with Bella Balls.
Right.
By the
Right.
It was great, great political theater.
Right. And which is why I told myself, look, don't get too bent out of shape spiritually over this thing. Because as much as it was a difficult hit, right, physically to take, it forced me to do reevaluation. And so as much as they are lemons, God is a professional at helping you make lemonade, right? Mm-hmm. And so that, right. So, temporally speaking, I can make all sorts of arguments, but in the end, I think that the shift mentally, emotionally, spiritually is going to end up, I'm going to parlay it and use it rather than a painful situation, which it is, into a kind of a rebirth situation. Well, you notice the hair's different. Yeah. I decided that at 62 years old, I should probably start looking at 62. I used to tell my wife all the time, you see this guy with a real long, scraggly ass ponytail, down the back or something. I said, if I ever get to that age, okay, just grab a pair of scissors or just tell me, honey, put yourself in front of a mirror and say, you gotta just move on. And that was the point.
One of the big reasons I stuck with you, when Hine forced me to choose between the two of you, and then of course I wrote you and him the same email, and I said, look, this is silly, this is childish, I ain't going to choose between the two of you. And then your response was to stick me on your live stream, and Hine's response was to cut me off. And now I'm close to being in the same target zone, I suppose, as you are, only whatever. I mean, so, but what I brought to my decision when I was forced to it by Hine is something my mother taught me growing up. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover. So I looked at you. I found some of it entertaining. I found some of it curious. I found some of it like, why would he do that? Some of the, ways you chose to be public with drinking or whatever. I mean, we don't need to go down that road. But I looked at it all and I remembered my mother's admonition, don't judge a book by its cover. Give this thing some time, find out why, find out what this guy's about. He and his wife, Jen. And I got to meet you, in the wheelchair there when I was out running at a rally, the State House. So I met you in real life. And we've become friends, I'd like to say. I mean, you called me a friend the other day over the past year. So it's cool. Don't judge. Let's stop judging books by covers in nanoseconds. Why do we have to do that? It's silly.
Oh, listen, I mean, it's very true. And, even this whole trans thing, which is a good example, I hate the trans movement. I hate it with a passion, right?
Makes my skin crawl.
It mentally affected me personally in my life. The ideology affected my family and my daughters. Yeah. But, I went to a movie on Christmas and it was cool. We went and saw that, I don't know what the hell was it called. It was a twisty, Housemaid. It was pretty good. If you're into a twisting, sort of thing. It was pretty good. And it was cool, man. There was a bunch of all the old people, man. They go to the movies on Christmas Eve and everybody's got their blankets and stuff. And I ran into I'm running into more trans people these days. I mean, everywhere, right? You walk into the
Me too. I went to Olive Garden on that point yesterday for lunch with my son and my wife, and we were greeted by a trainee. Mm-hmm. And it was one of these trainees that is like super, in your face about it in terms of their attitude. It's like, you better respect me or I'm going to jump down your throat kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I looked at the people in the restaurant and at the wait staff, and I couldn't help but feel that everybody was kind of steering clear,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, we've created a group of mentally ill people, and that's not a diss on those people. I actually feel like
Amen.
the folks that are more responsible, most responsible, ultimately responsible are the teachers, the administrators, the
Yes.
legislators that have
Yes.
allowed an environment to confuse people.
The
Okay.
parents. Go ahead.
Yes, and thinking, weak parents, right?
Yeah.
That have
Weak men. Weak men. Go ahead.
abdicated to the responsibility of raising their own children to professionals and the state, and so we had this lunacy where it's been normalized that you can just change sexes. Now, that's not the soup I grew up in. It's the soup that these people were forced to grow up in.
Mhm.
And so I don't look at them. I look at them as an object of pity.
Right.
It is, I feel sorry for them. I do.
Yeah.
I honestly have compassion for them
Sure.
because
and I saw that come. I saw that come through in your political theater. So good job. Go ahead.
yeah. I don't, and I said it when one of the times when I was performing that theater at Augusta, I said, we don't hate trans people. We just
Right.
love them differently.
Correct.
You and I, right?
Yeah. I would argue that we love them like we love any enemy. I mean, the gospel
Right.
teaches us.
Well,
as
we were talking
Christians.
about the other day, like the Jews.
Yeah.
I love
we
the
love-
Jews, but
That's
they
right.
killed
That's-
my savior. That's a little problematic. And
Yeah, right.
consider what the Bible says, that every knee and every knee will bend and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. That includes the Jews too, right? So
Most people don't think about the fact that Christianity is an older religion than Judaism, because what you have is the Hebrew faith in the Old Covenant, the Torah, which was because Judah didn't exist when the Pentateuch was written or lived, we should say. They were the Hebrews, because the word Jew is derived from the tribe of Judah, and that kind of the 12 tribes got all northern kingdom, southern kingdom, and the last region to exist like 300, 400, 500 years before Christ was Judah. It was the kingdom of Judah.
Mhm.
And so it's, and then what happened after Christianity, after they killed their Messiah, is Christianity became a religion. It actually, I'm Catholic, so you'll have to forgive me. Replaced,
Forgiven.
fulfilled, right? Fulfilled, right? It replaced it.
Yeah.
Christianity is the continuation of, it's the fulfillment of the Old Covenant. The New Covenant is the fulfillment of the Old Covenant. And so Christianity is an older religion than what we are fighting over today. That's called Judaism. That's a newer thing. It's a newer idea than Christianity. Most people don't think of that. But anyway.
Well, the whole thing, I mean, but it comes down to loving your enemies, and
yes,
that's it's a very difficult thing to do. And I will tell you that in 2025, this past year, I will say that the pain that I went through and the dealing with the enemies that I have, right? And interestingly enough, some of my enemies doesn't just come from one side of the aisle, right? So how do I process these things, right? I mean, essentially, right. I'm kind of angry with the main wire, for example. They do a lot of good work. A lot of people like them. I'm not going to base my actions on whether or not people like them, whether they're popular. I'm going to base my actions on whether what they did was right or wrong.
Correct.
And as far as quote unquote being my enemy, at the moment they are ideologically opposed to me in a certain area of what I would call censorship. But I don't have a desire to I want to set things right. I don't want to destroy my enemies. I want to set things right. I would much prefer, rather than crushing enemies, is to resolve things with enemies. I mean, that's the first thing we're supposed to do, right? When it talks about church discipline. And let's face it, these days, who's sitting in a church anymore? I mean, church is out here and the politics in the world, or Christianity needs to be fleshed out in the world.
Yeah.
So if you open your mouth and profess to be a Christian, then you are subject to biblical discipline.
Sure.
Right. And so
and also to put a more philosophical spin on what you're saying, and as we're talking about loving our enemies, love doesn't exist without truth. Love is not about this touchy-feely, sexual, romantic, lie that we've been fed our entire life. Love is it needs only one other thing to work, and that's the truth.
right,
And you can't separate them.
right. Right. You can't be loving to a trans person and tell them you're right, you're in the wrong body. That's not loving.
Right.
That's not loving. But the left says it is. That's what they call it. They call it love.
Right.
That affirmation is love. When really, indeed, the most loving thing to do was say, you're in error. And I'm going to show you where you're in error. And then I'm going to help you get out of that error.
Correct.
So that is the way that I would like to approach. I think I'm biblically commanded to approach every single thing. And if my enemies do not respond to that approach, that's when I have to leave it for the Lord to take vengeance, right? That's when I have to leave it for him, is to not be the punisher, but let him punish.
Your politics are identical to Trump's politics right now on the international stage. So what do I mean by that? What America has, I would argue, devolved into when it comes to the projection of military power on Earth is shock and awe. The first time we saw that was in Baghdad with Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And what is shock and awe? Well, I would argue it's an over reliance on air power. And back when we first were introduced to shock and awe, we did have the economy and we did have the military to put boots on the ground in a sustained way in the Middle East, halfway around the world, and supply them and protect them and make them victorious over Saddam Hussein's Iraq. So, and now, of course, we're living the latest version of shock and awe, which is you're in and out overnight in minutes with 24 members of Delta Force, and you take out a weak dictator, a weak socialist dictator, and then you keep right on rolling without having to put an army on the ground. And this is made possible by technology, et cetera. So how does this relate to your political tactics in Maine over the past year? You show up at a public hearing and it's all about shock and awe. It's all about shocking and awing them with Bella balls or with what happened in Lincoln. It's shock and awe. And it's the only thing that works right now because, as I've argued many times, Robert's Rules of Order is being weaponized against the truth and against love in Maine. Robert, this idea of civility and, at all costs. And if they have political power, then you got to be nice to them, blah, 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 blah. It's not American. What makes America great is we're protected, actually. We have the God-given right to criticize our politicians and even make fun of them publicly. Right. And why are people coming after you for using political shock and awe tactics, using words and political theory? I don't get it. Why?
It's outside that Overton window, like we talked about, right? And it is difficult. It's confusing. It's difficult to make sense out of, right? Because you would think that hey, wow, we've been trying something like doing this and this way for so long, and here somebody comes around and does something that might be a little effective, but rather than embrace it, they freaked out about it, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
It is,
and
weird.
then they come in with their institutional habits, which have been weaponized against them and against our cause, and they make you into the enemy simply because of your tactics. It makes no sense to me. Strategically, you're on the same side. You've been on the same side the whole year as Robinson and Gagnon, especially on the tranny issue, and you've been the most effective. you and Richard and Nick have been the most effective, but yet, and now they're okay with Nick, I guess, right now. I don't know, and maybe Richard, but why they cherry picked you, I don't get it.
You know, that's a deep well, right? I mean, is it ego? Is it gatekeeping? Is it, little of a lot of things? That's probably what it is more than anything, because rarely are things black and white in life. And usually there's a combination of motivations going on, and people have their own personal agendas. They've got their personal securities they need to worry about. You have responsibilities. You've got prior commitments that you've made to people. And then you've just been in a certain way for a long time. That in and of itself, just, you tend to settle into you crystallize, right? And I've always had a feeling, and I don't know why I've had this feeling, but I've just said it since I've been involved and got involved in politics, and I tried to do it with Pine Tree Patriots and some other folks, and said that structure is the enemy of our movement, right? As soon as you form a board, you're toast, because now you're going to open yourself up to other forces. And I think what's the most pure about what's going on and then going to happen in the next year is there's going to need to be purity in politics. What do I mean by that? Authenticity, okay? I mean, not the cutting the ham off the same way it's been cut off for years. And we've even got Elon Musk now raising the alarm that's saying, if we don't do it this time, it's over. The American experiment is over. There is no more America anymore.
Yep.
And so I think that's part of it. And I know that for me, maybe that's something that I'm here to teach people, is that God has been gracious to me as far as branding is concerned, and the ability to remake myself and to rethink and to reshape and to adjust and move on. And that's being flexible, right? Pliable, intellectually flexible, to be able to see, all right, I couldn't achieve my goal this way. How do I achieve my goal some other way? Right.
Yep.
Which is kind of where, the Bella Balls thing came. There was an escalation associated with that, right? With the Gardner thing. I mean, first it was getting up and tearing the rules in half and saying F your rules, and seeing what kind of shockwaves that made. And stuff like that. But you can look at that with the main wire. You can look at that with any political operative that I've run into, Heidi Sampson or Alan Servinas or any of these people out there doing similar things that I'm doing, that I would have thought they would have embraced me and said, okay, maybe you want to adjust your, approach a little bit or something. I mean, that's what I would have thought would have happened. People would have come alongside me and said, hey, let me help.
I am those people. And so I get it. I get how they feel about you. And what you did last year in 2025 is you walked up and you snatched that crystal out of their hand and you threw it on the ground and it shattered into a million pieces. They're crystallized in this board mentality. And when I say board mentality, I mean board of directors, and I mean board.
Yeah.
Everybody's bored by it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it anymore in Maine. They know it's ineffective. They know it's more about raising money, getting paid, than it is about actually representing the truth in love for all the citizens of Maine.
It's noisy.
They know. Yeah, no, that's okay. They know. Maine people know this. Instinctively, they see you with this Bella Balls thing and what happened in Lincoln, and they say, yeah, I don't get it. The phone gets whacked out of his hand by the good conservative guy wearing the tie, who's the same age. I don't really get it, but I get it.
Well, I go into a gas station, and I mean, constantly. It's not as much anymore because things wear off. But people know who I am. They go, "You're that guy. Thank you. thank you for saying the things you said. Thank you for doing the things that you did, that needs to be said. These people need to be woke up. And that was overwhelmingly, the kind of reception that I would get from normal everyday folks, right?
Sure. That's
and
right.
so
And that's going to continue, Tim. That's going to continue into this year. No doubt about it in my mind. Go ahead.
Well, it's a battle over the logos, and we've talked about that before as well, is that the left has been expert in changing language over the years and controlling language.
Well,
and Robert's rules are just a way to control language because you're controlling tone and temper and all of that kind of stuff. And it's like
it's an etiquette. It's a definition of respect and politeness that is old and boring. Nobody's interested anymore. We're all moving on. We're all moving on. Now, does that mean when I go to the State House tomorrow or whatever, I should be able to dress up like Bella Balls and rush into the House chambers or the Senate chambers? No, I don't think that's what you're saying. I don't think that's what you're doing. You've kept yourself within the 2-minute limit. You've fit in where you can fit in, but once you fit in, you've blown it up. It's shock and awe using words and using optics. Yeah. And that's just politics with words. That's just politics. So politics, when it fails, becomes bloody, kinetic warfare. That's the next step.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that I didn't expect that the warfare level to be so high. And I also didn't expect, honestly, the kind of resistance I expected the resistance to be from the other side. Right.
Right.
Which is what confused me the most. And I can understand why people thought that I was eclectic, confusing, not sure what to do with me. I think one of the biggest problems that was obvious is that I came against anyone who came against me. Yep. And some of it was artificially whipped up because I was fighting with demons, right? I was fighting with people that didn't exist. Okay.
Right. Anon accounts, right?
Yeah, anon accounts and stuff until I figured that out. And so, everything looked like a nail to me. It was just a big ass hammer in 2025. And so I hit everything in sight with a hammer, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And it's not my interest. I think people got this oh my God, he's like Shiva, destroyer of the worlds, right? Anything he touches, he destroys. Yeah. And I had a tough time getting people to understand that, look, I got a pretty strict set of rules that I go by, right? I'm a biblical guy. Yep. And if you play within that rule set, we're going to get along just fine, right? Yep. But if you don't, then I'm commanded to do things, right? And commanded to and that looks very unyielding to some people. Mm-hmm. And it is, right? It is. I don't look at situations and say, well, how do I feel about that? I look at them and say, well, what does the Bible command me to do about that?
Right. My opinion about what saved you in 2025, you and Jen, is the fact that when you started the Truth Slinger project, it was about your identity. It was about who and what you and Jen are as a married couple and as human beings who have lived into your 60s. And you weren't interested in hiding who you are, what motivates you, the mistakes that you made. I think you were surprised by the level of hatred that was introduced into the attacks.
Oh, the level of depth that I would have to own a past that I really preferred not everyone in the world knew about. Right. I mean, it would have been perfectly acceptable for me to explain my past in euphemisms, right? Mm-hmm. And say that, man, I came out of a life of depravity and sexual immorality, and you can use your imagination, but it's enough said, because generally it is.
Right. Yeah. But, I mean, the thing where your enemy got the most traction was stuff that happened forever ago.
Yeah, right.
And, you know,
Right.
it's perfectly.
And an attempt to make it seem as if that's who I am today. Right.
Mhm. Right.
Um,
And I applaud you for responding the way that you did, which was with honesty. Yeah, I did that, and here's how I feel about it. You went beyond just admitting it, and you communicated because you'd been doing it. I think from the beginning of the Truth Slinger project, you'd been.
oh, I mean, let me
Yeah.
tell you, I thought about it. Oh, I thought about it. You better believe I thought about it. In the day and age of AI and, Halloween and, and the internet the way it is, that I found that, people don't read every single message serially in order that you put them out to the world because of the algorithms. Sometimes people don't see your stuff till tomorrow. They see it out of order. They see it. Sometimes they don't see the complete picture. And I don't realize all that, and I'm sitting here pumping stuff out and, trying to have this, to make sense of this myself, for myself and for other people. And in the end, I could, like I said, I could have tried to obscure it because of the way the internet moves. But in the end, it turns out that it would have blown up and people would have realized it wasn't the truth and that it wasn't authentic. And I said, well, I don't really have a choice but to own it. It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I did. And I think that we're going to survive it.
Well, I think you're charting a path for all of us who use public media thinking that it has a social component. It never has had a social component. All of those privacy.
It made me more lonely.
It's never been social. Facebook's never been social. You really think that you can have 5,000 friends? I mean, come on. It's always been a lie from the beginning. There's no real social component to it.
Yeah. Well, interesting you said that word. Okay. 5,000 friends.
That's why I never used Facebook. It was like, I realized right at the beginning, why are they using this word friend?
Well, I made this.
Why are they using this?
But see, but I played right into it. Okay. Because I got on this social media and then I made these friends. And then what happened was, as the headwinds began to blow, stiffer and stiffer, these friends changed, some of them, not all of them.
Sure.
And so I think I wrote an essay about it, about that. I kind of realized more that this political field is more like a company I work at. I may have some friends in the end that maybe I go out after work with them and hang out and we're actually friends, right? But it's a work relationship. These are all work relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm not guaranteed that I'm going to be friends with any of them, right? This is a job. And I had a romantic idea in my head that, we were going to be this. I mean, I live in a movie. We talked about this before. I got theme songs playing in my head. I write them. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
But I
learned early, Tim. That in your lifetime, you get to have no more than 6 friends. Count them, 6 friends. You get to have 6 friends, and you don't get to have them all at once.
Right.
They come and go, and it doesn't go over 6 for a lifetime. 6 friends is what you get.
You're
if you
probably
really,
right.
if you're realistic about how you define the word friend, what is a friend? If you stop and think, you don't have to think deeply about it. I'm right. I'm right in
no, a friend, you can tell them anything and they won't leave.
Yeah,
anything.
They're going to respect confidences. They're going to put your interests ahead of their own when necessary or when appropriate.
Right.
All that stuff. And
right.
you just don't get many of them through your lifetime. And so when Facebook came on, and then they spun up this 5,000 limit. I don't know if they still have that limit, but
I don't know.
5,000 friends. I thought, what? You guys, what are you doing here?
Over there on the main X community, he's got 50,000 friends now. So, he's got a lot more friends than we do. But so what that does is, in your brain, that makes a category error, right? That you start treating someone in a category that's the wrong category.
Correct.
And then when they don't respond, categorically speaking, the way you think they're supposed to, then I got confused, right? I got hurt.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I had to work through. And I'm pretty much got that figured out. I think in general, I've got it figured out who are the people that I can count on, right? Let's just put it that way.
So this is what I say, Tim, and I think you're going to have a chance in 2026 to teach a lot of Mainers and a lot of people around the world. If we stop instantly using Facebook as if it's social and use Facebook like Richard is using it, he doesn't have 50,000 friends. He has 50,000 followers. That's a kind of newish category that Facebook spun up. And if you've got a business, you can create a page and then you get followers. They're not called friends. They're not friends.
Subscriber
and then they've got that
would be almost the best term for it, except that subscription, it assumes they're paying money every month. But I mean, they're people that subscribe to your newspaper, like you said.
That's it. So if instantly we all changed our category in our head when with all of our social media accounts to public media, every one of these accounts always has been and always will be, especially now with AI and with the weaponization of data points, right, for the purpose of surveillance. All of these centralized platforms are public media. So what does that mean? Does that mean you should be scared? Does that mean that there's any emotion attached to it or fear, fear, uncertainty, and doubt? No, what it means is you have your own newspaper. You are the editor and the owner of your own newspaper, of your own television station, of your own radio station.
Media company.
You are the owner of it. You're the editor, you're the producer, you're it, chief cook and bottle washer of public media. That changed everything overnight because people would become more circumspect. They'd realize that they're only going to get 6 friends in a lifetime.
Yeah, what I mean? It's and it's interesting when I look at retrospect. God always works in multiple ways. He doesn't always, it's like layers. It's kind of like God's sovereignty and our responsibility. They're laid over the top of each other. It's both and, right? God's not less sovereign, and we're not, ultimately completely free either, right? And so it's kind of like that thing is with the layers. And I think that with the social media, I learned a number of things in 2025, and one of them would be where I need to be aiming my guns, where my targets are. And but one of them I think was literally to find out the distinction of who my friends are, what is a friend, how do I look at this thing, and in the end come out with a pretty good understanding of what it is and how it works and what is it most effective for. And in this year that I spent pouring my soul out onto the internet, and I just decided that I'm going to let you know whatever's going on with me, no matter what it is. It was different. It had an interesting effect. It made me very vulnerable to the kind of trolling that, it was the worst thing I could possibly done, to put out all the intimate details of my life that someone that is running a psychological operation would use against me to destroy my psyche, right?
And there's evidence to suggest that Michael G. Hine isn't working alone, and that there's a budget here, and that there's an operation being run with you in the center of the target. And now I'm within the limits of the target, but I'm not at the center of the target. You're still at the center because you're clearly the bullseye is you. And and so but the problem is that people want to see evidence.
Right.
They want us. And this is so sophisticated.
Well, it's funny because they don't on a casual diss, they'll throw you to the curb. They don't care about the evidence. But then when you start to really pry into someone like an operative that you might suspect, right? Then for some reason, then people go, well, I'm like, going, it doesn't make sense to me. But I think that what I kind of learned is that for all intents and purposes, I would never do the Truth Slinger project the way I did it over again, the way I did it. Never. It was too personally brutal. The cost was very high. But fortunately, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Don't try this at home, is the way they say it, right? Don't do it. It wasn't wise, tactically speaking. Now, of course, God is playing and running a different war, right? He's not running a Hollywood war, okay? So what do I mean by that? Richard talks about the Hollywood syndrome all the time, right? Is that we think things are supposed to be the certain way that they are. And I think that what I kind of found out was that I shattered a lot of things, right? And I think on the other side of it, now I understand completely why I'm going to do things the way I'm going to do them in 2026. I'm going to do them intentionally and deliberately, not just because other people over there do it. So I don't regret it. I don't regret the fact that I said, hey, I'm going to try this thing that nobody else has the guts to do. Everybody else keeps an antiseptic, they turn the camera off, and then they do whatever they do off camera, right? And they don't share that, and they don't, mix those two things together. I tried it. And I think for my own personal mental health, God is wise and God is good. And back to loving your enemies, if the resistance that you come against, well, first of all, if it's assumed that you can't grow without resistance, then why indeed would you not love the very resistance that causes you to become better? Intellectually speaking, why would you not do that?
Yeah.
Why? And so in a way, if you have an arch nemesis, it means one thing. It means you're a hero.
Yeah, amen.
Arch nemesis don't come against people that don't do anything.
You're a classical Greek hero. The West, in order to understand the West and literature, etc., and hero, the definition of a hero, you got to start with Greece. And then the ultimate hero for the West is Jesus Christ, who was tortured and crucified and murdered by his own people at the age of 33 years old.
Oh, and never in my life have I been closer to Jesus. Never. Because I suffered this year. And you know what suffering does? Suffering brings you into union with Jesus.
That's
right? Who did the ultimate suffering for us, right? This is how he can stick closer than a brother, is suffering. I feel grace when I suffer.
Yeah.
Okay? Because of the relationship that I can't explain it. I mean, it's like, I'm trying to put words to something just like the book of Revelation. I'm trying to put words on top of something that doesn't really have words.
Well, what caused Jesus to be tortured and nailed to a cross? It was his honesty. It was the honest interactions that he had that are recorded in the gospel with the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
Right.
What I call the Jews. Not every Jew, not every Jew then or today, because Mary was Jewish, Jesus was Jewish, Paul's Jewish. They're all Jewish. Peter, I think. So not every Jew, but the Jews. Jesus spun them up. He got in their face. He did what you're doing, what you've done so effectively last year with the whole tranny question. And
what's interesting about that too is that it's another good analogy as to, if you want to put it in biblical terms, is I spent last year flipping tables.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you read the Gospels, Jesus also did a Sermon on the Mount, and he wasn't flipping tables.
Right.
And he also talked to the Pharisees, and he reasoned with them, like face to face. He told them they were a brood of vipers, right?
Yeah. Whitewashed sepulchres.
Yeah. absolutely, whitewashed tombs, and so Jesus was a lot of things. He's a lot of different things, and I'm not. I mean, well, yeah, okay, sure. I aspire to be Christ-like,
Amen.
and so therefore, if I'm doing that authentically, then I'm going to look somewhat like my master.
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought and said that Jesus was a madman.
Yeah.
Right. And so yeah, but I think that what we're going to see in 2026 is there's just more to the Truth Slinger Project, and there's more to Tim and Jen Bodner that meet the eye.
Amen. Jesus showed us how to love our enemies. And when we love it, the phrase "love your enemies," it doesn't mean that you don't have any enemies. It
No.
means that you're going to tell the truth, which is what Jesus did to his own people, to the leaders, the political leadership of the Jews at the time. He told them the truth. They didn't want to hear it. And he did it out of love, because what he was saying to them, they were saying to him in John 8, look, we're genetically Jewish. We're the Jews because of our, genetics and whatever. And Jesus said, I can't quote it exactly. Maybe you can, but he said, I don't care about any of that. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you love me. What matters is that you see in me the Messiah, because that's who I am. This is a very bad paraphrase of what Jesus said. You can go read it for yourself. It's in John 8. And yeah, so that's it. And he suffered for it. And we're all going to suffer. We're all going to suffer if we speak the truth to power, or if we love our enemies. We're going to suffer for it. Full stop.
Yeah. Well, this year, hopefully I'm going to be able to show folks some of the broader and deeper Christian principles, because of the fact that I just think it's a different season.
Yep.
And I'm kind of grateful, like I said, that I was able to use the difficult circumstances of, getting all these things that I had planned to do, because I'm trying to sell a book, and trying to make a living, in retirement with a little supplemental income, and just trying to, we don't want to be rich,
Sure.
just do all right.
Yep.
And so, it was, at times, honestly, I would have to say that there were times when Jen looked at me and said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you systematically tearing apart these relationships?" And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not sure what these relationships are. Okay. And so I'm pressing them to figure out what they are. And you're absolutely right. If I got on social media in order to be popular, then I might do things differently. If I wanted to have a lot of friends and go to a Christmas party, I might have done things a lot differently in the way I behaved. But understanding the mission and what that mission is, and sometimes not even understanding what that mission is. Sometimes it's just down to lift up the name of Christ and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all going to do, but I know I need to let you go, because you've got to prepare for your live stream. And we've been going for an hour. You've been so generous with your time. I appreciate it.
It was good.
Yeah. And I'm going to close with the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer here in just a moment. But public media, if we'll all stop thinking that these are our friends, that we're creating something deep and broad and meaningful on any of these centralized platforms, and we'll start thinking of them as tools, weapons, as just like a newspaper, just like a radio station, just like a television station, and you own it, you control every aspect of it, and then I think things will improve. And the other thing we got to keep in mind, Tim, is that these centralized platforms, all of them, are being used to collect data points, and the data points are being sold behind the scenes between third parties, companies, so that a psychological profile can be created on you that is accessed by intelligence agencies. It's
Yeah.
all, there's no doubt that that's what's happening now with all these centralized platforms.
Yeah, you
So-called.
know, and it's true, and I've always looked at it as a double-edged sword, right? I mean, like, for example, just go back to television.
Mhm.
If we didn't have the advertiser, you know, advertising Bosco's syrup and Maverick cigarettes or Marlboros or whatever the hell it was at the time,
Yeah.
then we wouldn't have had Howdy Doody.
Mhm.
Right. So was it better to, you know, be exploited by someone who's trying to sell you something and advertise something? And, you know, and not everything people try and advertise is bad either. I mean, some things help
Right.
you, some things are bad for
Right.
you. You know, you have to be discerning. So
Yeah.
I think if anything, I would just say that we live in an age where we need to be hyper discerning.
Yes.
And the tools that we have are extremely, extremely effective. I mean,
Yeah.
AI is incredible. AI is going to allow me to do what I couldn't have done 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
This
Amen.
year, it's gonna allow me to accomplish that. And so, but at the same time, it can also destroy my life. It can also I can run everything off into a ditch through this computer. Like, it can
Yep.
destroy my health and mind psychologically, spiritually. I have to be
Yep.
careful about what I take, what I believe, what's out there, right?
Yep.
So, it can be used for great good. It's more powerful than ever in both directions, right? Either
Now
way.
I need to go. I need to get to church. My wife is going to the gym and whatever. So in the
Yes,
name of
sir.
the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Check out True Slinger this morning at hippie chick _24 on X. Did I get that right?
Yep, absolutely.
9 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Awesome. And I will see all of you tomorrow at 6 a.m. God bless you, Tim. Thanks for
Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye.